Thank you for your interest in the Decade app. What an absolutely unbelievably fun run this has been for the last 6 years, obviously culminating with Will Zalatoris finishing second place at the Masters last week. But what I really enjoyed the most about the Masters was listening to the announcers almost seem stunned and perplexed how a young man like Will Zalatoris, obviously just a Corn Ferry Tour member, but I think we all know at this point he's better than that, how he was able to maintain his composure through the heat of the battle in a final round like Sunday at the Masters.
Um, you know, pretty cool to watch this kid, see what he's doing now and to see where he goes from here.
He was the ace. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the reason that players don't win here first go around, except for Fuzzy Zeller in 1979,
I didn't know that.
is that, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You pay attention. But it is because it's said over and over again, and it seems reasonable enough, that they lack the experience. They lack the understanding of the nuances. The thing that I find amazing about him, and the reason I chose him the other night as a sort of an off-the-radar player to look at, is because he is so high up in strokes gained tee to green. So technically he has it. But from the experience standpoint, he can ameliorate that inexperience because he does happen to work with a guy who I think has sort of cornered the market in teaching these young players how to map out a way to play these golf courses using Google Earth, using all kinds of sabermetrics to where they show up with the experience of having played here many, many times. They would map out, and look, if you hit it far right and far left, and it's 60 yards between those two, that's your dispersion cone, okay? So he would know his dispersion cones, and they map them out over the entire golf course. So he would know this strategy. Fuzzy Zeller famously said the reason he won that week was because he had a magic weapon, his caddy, and all that knowledge. Well, so does Will Zalatoris. He has a magic weapon. It is a great strategy that Scott Fawcett and Lou Stagner, the two people that run Decade, have helped him. And part of his meteoric rise came from that because he was going to play in the Texas State Junior, and the fellow who started Decade was a fellow by the name of Scott Fawcett. And Scott said to him, I'm going to caddy for you, but only if you let me use you as a guinea pig. I want you to use my strategy. When he won that week, Will Zalatoris, and he said in 1 week, he got 25 years of experience. And that's why I say young kids are coming out now on the PGA Tour and schooling veterans because they better understand how to play these golf courses than some of the players that have played them for 20 years.
I really don't know how I can make it any more straightforward than that. Actually, that's not true at all. This week, both Kevin Kisner and Webb Simpson were asked how it is that these young guys are coming out so prepared and ready to win, just hitting the ground running, guys like Colin Morikawa and Will Zalatoris. Well, Webb Simpson's answer says it all, I believe. Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's more information for these young guys than we've ever had. You have Decade Golf from Scott Fawcett, you have TrackMan, you have Foresight, all these tools. I gotta be honest. The fact that my name came to mind faster than TrackMan or Foresight is probably hilarious, but I really need you young players to understand this is what these guys are doing out on the PGA Tour. You do not have to spend decades beating your head into the wall trying to figure this out on your own anymore. Decade is the cheat codes that will help you lose that feeling of having left shots out on the golf course every single time you tee it up. Enough of all that though, let's get down to the business of looking what the Decade app is actually all about. When you first log into the app, you'll see your dashboard with several statistics that we find to be the most interesting that correlate with your score and that are actionable statistics that you need to know what is going on, as well as the video content under the strategy section here that is what the Decade program picked out tailored to your game based on your statistics that you have entered into the app once you have enough rounds entered. The first place you should look when logging into the app for the first time is over to the video section. We obviously have quite a few different channels that you can look at, and the channels range from getting started, mental, approach, deca. These are all just the strategy content videos that you should really just watch directly in the order that we have them listed in. You also can watch the content in the foundations order, which again is something that I've really put a lot of effort into. It's a little bit more content, a little bit longer and slower content, but I still believe it's a great place to start and just take all of the content in the order that it is listed for you. Next up, we have the analysis section, which is just like it's always been before. You can use the comparative analysis to see the red X's where you are underperforming against your peer group and the green checks where you're overperforming against your peer group. One thing that you really want to be looking for is just these clusters of red X's, but then you also want to look for any red X that is more than one column to the right. So This red X right here, double bogeys per round, is 2 columns to the right. That would be an area of your game that you really want to take a closer look at, because if you're underperforming your peer group by that much, it's probably a bit of a problem for you. This next part is something I'm extremely excited to announce, though. We've partnered with Chris Zambri, the former USC coach of 14 years, to bring his test and combines to the Decade app that he ran while he was at USC. What's so awesome about this is tests and combines, sometimes you don't even know if they actually have any value or not. But Chris ran these tests nearly 10,000 times on his teams that were perennial contenders and winners of the Pac-12 championship and contenders in the NCAA championship. He also ran this test a number of times on 2 world number ones in Jamie Lovemark and Justin Suh. Obviously, you'll start from the home screen to find the combines. You click in the bottom right, the Tools button. Next will come up Combines. From there, you'll see we have 7 different tests so far. We've got a couple more that we're adding over the next few weeks, but we're trying to get this out as quick as possible. So we have Simulated Putting, which is an absolutely fantastic test. It's a drill, a test, whatever you want to call it, but it is amazing. Then we have 3 different line tests, which judge basically how accurate you are with line only. And then we have what we call Random Test, which is a combination of line and distance. Originally, Chris Zambri designed these tests with the intent to help USC team members improve. But as the test evolved over thousands of trials and tweaks, they've really turned into a gold standard for finding areas of players' games that need improving, and almost as important, what areas of their game to leave alone because they are already elite. A huge goal of the Decade app is to find the lowest hanging fruit for any player to improve their scoring as economically as possible. We want to find where you can focus your efforts and improve the most, the easiest. These tests, in combination with the Decade app's standard statistics, the mental scorecard, and GPS statistics in the elite version, are what will drive your practice plans and improvement. This will sound funny coming from a person who is selling a statistics program for a living, but I really don't find statistics very interesting in isolation. You simply have to know what categories to combine to figure out what to work on. It's a very simple 4-step process. What area of your game could you improve the easiest to get the most impact on your score? What do we need to do to create that improvement? Did it work? And what can we do next? Stats mean nothing without the ability to compare to a peer group and drive actionable suggestions for players of any level to improve. There simply isn't another program on the market that has the depth and breadth of knowledge that we have here with the Decade app. We have data from major champions, PGA Tour and LPGA Tour winners, U.S. Amateur champions, NCAA individual and team champions, U.S. junior champions, and more club champions than you can possibly count. Okay, we certainly know that people are making improvements with the Decade app and the Decade system, but let's take a look at how the features actually work. Here we are just logged in. We're on a desktop, so it's easier to make this video, but it's just the exact same features within the phone-based app. And I'm going to click on Round Entry. Comes up, we're going to have the Decade 5 entry, that's for the Foundations members, where you're entering either the Tiger 5, the how many bogeys on par 5s, how many double bogeys, how many 3 putts, how many 2 chips, and how many bogeys from inside 150. That's for Foundations players. We're going to look at the GPS entry of the Elite version of the app now, so we're going to do this. And for fun, we'll look at Augusta National, and we're going to pretend that we just played one hole, and we're going to play it the way that Will Zalatoris played it on Sunday. Starting hole is number 18. Holes played, 1. Round type tournament. We make sure that the distance is right. We can change all these things. Will, we're going to say that he had a perfect mental scorecard. And he had about let's call it a 25-foot putt that he made. So the reason that we're setting it up this way is you have to enter your score, your mental scorecard, which you'll learn what that is within the app, and then you enter in the lengths of your putts, because then it presets the putts in the app once you go to the GPS version, and all you have to do, it's pretty awesome, is you move the hole first to where it was, you move the putt to where it was, and then you move back to the hole view. We'll put it in this bunker right here, and then he had a chip shot from out here short right. Obviously, I don't know his exact yardages, but you can see here that you can select the exact yardage you had. So if he knew he was 32 yards or 49, it doesn't matter. You then just move that and you hit save. And that's all there is to this round. All holes on this round have been completed. Click here to finish. It completes the round. You can add in if it didn't pick up any missing penalty shots, any recovery situations, so we can track your strokes gained driving accurately. And then you finalize the round, and your stats come up right here. You've got a number of different reports that you can look at. Your total strokes gained, your strokes gained shot by shot, all kinds of goodies. Now, the next thing that the GPS capability within the Decade app allows us to do is create free yardage books. So here we're going to create one for Augusta National, since everybody knows this course. You simply type in the course name. Sometimes you have to monkey around with the name a little bit. It might be 2 words combined to one. Sometimes you can search by city. Typically, 95% of the time, it just pops right up. But every course on the planet, all 44,000 of them are in there. So if you don't see it, try a few more iterations of it, or email me, scott@playinglesson.com, and we will see what the problem is and find it and get that into the book. You have the ability, obviously, at Augusta, they only have 2 sets of tee boxes. We have the ability to choose whichever tees we want to play. We click next, and then we can choose either the collated yardage book, which is what we have created to be able to print the yardage books on any normal printer. There are a few times where you've got to learn how to shuffle the pages in differently, but for the most part, you can figure it out pretty easily. You can choose, if you're in Europe, A4 or legal. We have created these books to where they pass all of the USGA's yardage book rules, meaning how to scale what they can and can't be. And then we're just going to use this one for our phones. We're going to choose the consecutive yardage book. Now we'll just let this thing run real quick while it picks it up. And there you go. In just over a minute, download the PDF, open that guy up, and here is Augusta National. There's number 1. We've got on the greens the 5-yard boxes, so you can help judge where any of the hole locations are if you're playing in a golf tournament without a pin sheet. Let's scroll on back here to number 12, since it's a relatively obvious hole that everybody knows. Par 3, from the back tee box, we've got 135 to the front edge of the bunker, 146 to cover, 159 to the back edge bunker, 170 to the far edge of the bunker. You can see right here, again, we've got the 5-yard boxes. You can see how narrow this green is. Man, this is why this shot is so tough. People don't really understand. Go pace off 10 yards and go see how narrow that guy is. It is unbelievable. Here we've got 13, severe dogleg left. We've got the elevation change in the fairway. We've got these 100, 120, 140-yard circles. So no matter where you are, you can start to get a good guesstimate of where you are distance-wise to the center of the green. Keep on going. 15, crazy shot Hideki tried last week. 16, the par 3. There you go. For free, a yardage book on Augusta National in just over a minute. As you can see, there are also 2 copies of the yardage book for every sheet, because the legal U.S. paper is exactly twice the size of the USGA limits. So for every time you print it out, you just have to bind them together and then cut them right down the middle, and you have 2 yardage books. That is a pretty good summary of what the Decade app is all about. Every member has access to the battle-tested Decade scoring system, the testing that Chris Zambry created while leading the USC Trojans, the GPS or Tiger 5 stats portals depending on which version of the app you have, the custom content based on your statistics to help you find the holes in your game, whether they be physical, strategic, or mental, and the free Decade yardage book so you can have a consistent and uniform display of information to free up your decision-making process. If you're a tournament player, you don't have to play in very many golf tournaments to let these yardage books basically pay for the app themselves. I could go on forever about how guys like Will Zalatoris and Bryson DeChambeau took the first steps in launching their professional careers, and shoot, in Will's case, their junior and amateur and professional careers by using Decade. But ultimately, I highly doubt many of you that are watching this are actually hoping to become one of the best players on the planet. So the real question you have to be asking yourself is, it's great for these guys, but can it actually help me? I really can't tell you how much positive feedback I receive on a daily basis from just the average Joe. You helped me knock 5 shots off my game. I won my club championship. My kid finally stopped wasting shots and won whatever AJGA golf tournament. Decade really is designed to help anyone, and I created the foundations level content to go slower so that way anybody can watch it and implement it almost immediately and watch their scores tumble.